Thanks for joining. We're still kind of kicking off. Give it about 10 more seconds. Papa Bear. Can you see that? Papa Bear. Got some coffee over here. Gaming Gators on TikTok. What's up? What's up? We're just getting started. Iris Penita. I don't know if I said that right. Thanks for joining. Looks like we got TikTok up and running, Facebook and YouTube waiting on. There goes Twitch. And did I already say LinkedIn? I don't know, but it looks like it's good. So cool. So yeah, data analysis. But at the end of last stream, so this is part 6 of a whoever knows how many part series, but it's part 6. So at the end of the last stream, I said I realized that I have to build this compute skill gaps thing and that I was too tired. And so that was yesterday, and it's a new morning. Sometimes you just got to sleep. You feel me? Sometimes I got to tell myself that. Anyway. So this is how I've started implementing it. I tried a few other things, but basically this is working. And it started working, so I wanted to bring y'all online, kick off the stream, and show you the thought process here. So what is a skill gap? Basically, I ask the person on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's say we're referring to a particular job, like a programming job. With this job in mind, what is the ideal level of attention to detail held by an applicant? Let's bring up the questionnaire. So this is the survey questionnaire. It's all based on a survey. So here are the skill questions. This last section of, I think it's about like 30 questions-ish, 40? From 43 to 94. Okay, so it's like 50 questions. But there's 13 skills and 4 variations for a total of 52 questions. What's up, Whittington? How's it going? Appreciate the likes. So there's 52 questions, but they're about 13 different skills. And those 13 skills, about 10 of them are actual skills, and about 3 of them are what you would call pseudo skills or quasi skills, like physical attractiveness. On the one hand, a lot of this is like biologically determined, right? But on the other hand, you can make a case for, hey, if you dress professionally, you know, for like make body language, it kind of gets into body language, like how are you like making faces and stuff? There's a different question on nonverbal communication, which is actually a different skill. So there's written communication, verbal communication, and body language communication, which is just nonverbal communication. Some of that plays into your appearance. You know, you get your hair did. You know, makeup, if makeup's your thing. If you're a bearded person, then like take care of your beard. So some of that you can take care of, like, do you work out? Do you eat right? Some of that you can kind of, but even the working out and eating right, there is a strong biological component, right? Like 2 guys go to the gym, same number of hours a week, and it disproportionately affects different people. So some of this you can't really control. So that's why it's like a quasi skill or a pseudo skill. It's almost like it's not a normal skill in the normal way we think of it. Salary requirement is another quasi skill or pseudo skill. It's like it's not really a skill, but it's an important factor in a regression. Why? When it comes to physical attractiveness, we know that this is a huge bias in the hiring process, believe it or not. There's a bunch of literature on this. So you have to measure it so you can control for it. That's why it's important to measure. And salary. 2 people, equal skills, but one has a lower salary requirement. Who are you going to hire, right? So salary is really important to capture and include in your regression. So anyway, going back to the 13, about 10 of them are actual skills, and about 3 of them are like pseudo skills or quasi skills. But let's take one that's like a prototypical skill, which would be like writing communication skill, written communication skill. This is very much a traditional skill. The way that we calculate the skill gap is we ask you, what is the level of written communication skill held by an ideal job applicant? And you might say, well, why isn't it just 10, like every time? I don't necessarily have a good answer. All I know is that different people don't put 10. And so I want them to tell me the skill requirement. I don't want to impose that on them. There are these things that are called like individual response effects. It's like different people just pick different numbers for whatever reason, and you want to normalize it to the level of that person, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, Jim might say, well, average is 5, so 6 is above average. And Sarah might say, well, actually the average of 1 and 10 is 5.5, which rounds to 6. So 6 is just average and 5 is below average. And these are like kind of like individual level judgments that I, as the analyst, don't want to impose. I just want to measure your opinion and correct for that. Does that make sense? So someone might say, well, 10's ideal. Someone else might say, well, 10 is perfect. No one's perfect. So really 9's ideal. You know, something like that. And these are individual level variations. So I, as the analyst, I'm not imposing. I'm just correcting for. But I will tell you that the vast majority of people, when it comes to ideal, they put like 9 or 10. And then another reason you might even see an 8 sometimes is like, well, we want it to be really high, but it's not as important as, like written is not as important as verbal, or the other way around, right? Or like maybe written is more important than body language. And then frankly, some people just don't care. So that's another reason sometimes you'll see a low number, like even a 1 on occasion. I don't think there are any 1s. We can go check the raw data if you want. I don't think there are any 1s for ideal written communication. But I think there might be like a 1 for like body language. And I think the idea is just the person just doesn't care. And I think there was like a 1 for like attractiveness. And it's like maybe some people want, like an ugly person. I don't know. I don't know their motivations. I'm just measuring the skill response. Okay, so how does this work? So let's go back to written communication. The way we calculate the skill gap is we ask them for the ideal skill level, and then we ask them for the perceived skill level of a recent college graduate, and you take the difference. That's it. So if they say ideal written communication is a 10, college graduate is a 7, there's a skill gap of 3. We say there's a 30% gap. There's a gap of 3 out of 10. Does that make sense? How's the course going? What's up, man? That's a good question. So I'm taking a break from the course to work on this research project. So I'm giving a talk at the Southern Economic Conference. It's in November, and I got to get this paper done. Course is kind of on pause until, it's not going to be on pause until November, but it's going to be on pause until the paper's done, which I'm hoping to get that done this month. It's the 17th right now. So stay tuned, still working on the course, but it's not #1 priority right now. That said, if you do have any questions like programming stuff, feel free to bring it up and I can pivot over. So no problem with that if you have a question right now. All right, cool. So that's how you get the skill gap. You ask for the ideal level and then ask about a college graduate or a non-college graduate with an alternative credential. So this would be somebody like a portfolio of work, a Udacity nano degree, right? What else would be an alternative credential? They took an online course or something, you know, certificate of completion for some course. Those would all be alternative credentials. Cool. Yeah, and so then they might say, well, that person has like a written communication skill of 6, and then you can get this additional metric, which is interesting, which is the comparative skill gap. So you can say the college graduate has a 7, the alternatively educated individual has a 6. There's a comparative gap of 1 out of 10. Does that make sense? Cool, so that's what we're computing right here. So we have a data frame, we have the skill columns. I'm actually not really using skill columns. I think I can just get rid of that entirely. Just pass the data frame. And in the raw data, bring up the raw data and you can see what these look like. Cosmic Gamer, what's up? Thanks for joining. So in the raw data, it looks like this. Skill, customer service, recent college graduate. Skill, customer service. NGWAC is a non-college graduate with alternative credential. skill teamwork, ideal skill teamwork, typical employee, recent college graduate, NG walk, non-college graduate with alternative credential. So what I do is I find the ideal. So like here being 8, somebody put 5 for ideal. That's just so weird to me, but whatever. So I got an 8 over here, and then the college graduate, alternatively educated are both 7, so they both have a gap of 1. The comparative gap is 0. See that? So that's how we do it. This one minus this one. That's it. So let's go write it in some Python. So here is the skill name. We are computing a skill name in the data frame, and I was just setting it to 0 to prove that I could compute a column name basically, and it worked fine. And then this is a destructuring. So split builds an array, but I don't want the array. I just want the skill name, which is the first element of that array. So this is a syntax you can do that with in Python. Pretty cool. I guess I can make a little TikTok about these. So now I have the skill name, and here we want to actually have the difference. So this will be df something minus df something. So the something here should be the ideal skill level. So that will be ideal skill name. And df here should be the alternatively educated individual. So that will be this NGWalk thing. Let's go, yeah. So alt, turn this into a constant, alt ed individual substring. Then I can use that here. Just keeping it dry, feel me? Just keeping it dry. Order those alphabetically because who cares? That's just how I do. Cool. So, yeah, okay, the VS Code's just lagging a touch. So now, I have not run the file yet, so these de-skewed, I should have zeros unless I didn't check it in. Yeah, so they're all zeros. You see that? They're all zeros. And that is intentional because I just told it to be 0 previously. I'm going to close this. We're going to run the file, and the test is they should no longer be zeros, basically. All right, so this is a key error. What's the issue? Oh, right. I need to actually compute. I need to compute the skill name. Let me double check on that. NGWalk. So skill, physical attractiveness, underscore NGWalk. That's it. So I think that's right. So let's try this again. Skill, salary required by an NGWalk doesn't work. Let's see. Let's see what is that skill one called, or salary. Salary required by an ideal job applicant, by a typical employee, by a NGWalk. Interesting. Yeah. So there's the A versus and is throwing us right now. Skill, salary required by an ideal. So this will always be an. Let's do it like that. And then this will be A. Let's see if that fixes it. Close this file. Okay, so that completed without error. Let's go check our data. And we only have one column here. Skill required by A. So I'm expecting more than one column. Skill required by A. Okay, so salary is the only one that does that. Interesting. Okay, so I think there's something going on with salary, actually. So let's close this. So we got one column, but it's just, it looks like it's special to salary. So I'll undo those changes, and let's go Control F, salary. I'm not seeing it. Held by A. So this is a replacement we're doing, emptying that, which is good, but it doesn't seem to capture salary. So I guess I use a different expression for salary. Required by instead of held by. Required by. Okay, so let's duplicate this line. So held by A, we're going to duplicate this line. Required by A. Complete without error, that's nice. Let's look at this data. And the zeros are gone. So that measured all the skills we want. Awesome. So these are the skill gaps, and these are what are technically called raw skill gaps because they can be negative. Some scholars will, if it's below 0, they'll just make it 0. So what is a negative skill gap? The negative skill gap means that the person has a skill, they're overqualified, basically. They have a skill level in excess of the ideal. So in one theory, overqualification effects are important, so we should measure that and see if it does anything. In another theory, overqualification isn't a real thing, and if you're overqualified, it just means yes, you're qualified. And so these are two different measurements, and so we're going to compute them both. So this is a WO, that means with overqualification. So this is an alternatively educated individual. I honestly can't recall why the T is there, but I'm keeping it because it's consistent with a prior study. It's like an alternatively educated individual with overqualification, okay? Now, we're going to don't save, and we're going to compute without overqualification. Very, very simple. It is just this. But that is in JavaScript, so I need to do this in Python. I think it's just max. It's just the max function, import from math, I think. Okay, so it's already here, so it's actually not. Excuse me. So let's see if this works. And the only difference is that you add this in. So that's with overqualification, with no overqualification. And it's just a max operation. Okay, let's see. Oh, truth value of a series is ambiguous. Okay, so I can't do the math there. So I think I need to do a numpy where. I can try to do a, let's see. Data frame or 0. I guess I could do a, yeah, I could do a lambda. I want to do numpy.where actually. Data frame value or 0. Did I just search this exact thing? don't want to set them all to 0. I want to do a or 0. So let's try and do it like this. We can do and or. I think this is also going to fail. So let's try. Right, truth value of a series is ambiguous. Oh, maybe I need to do a if else instead of an and. So if does the if else work? Let's see a Python ternary. A if condition else B. So this will be A if condition else B. So that, let's see if that worked. Yep, no, it failed again. If okay, so I think I want to use the numpy.where. So I'm not bringing in numpy yet, but that's fine. Where condition x, y. Oh no, they're wanting me to sign in. Bye guys. I'll go to here. numpy.where condition, what does this mean? Give me an example. Where? Yep, this is what I'm expecting. B equals np.where. And I think A is true. All elements of A, whenever the condition holds true, otherwise it is set as 0. So this is basically like a ternary. And are they doing NP or NumPy? They're doing NP, yeah. Different conventions. Some people just import NumPy. Some people import NumPy as NP. Try to follow the conditions, even though I don't really care. Hey. Look, yeah. Little girl is up. Okay, so let's rephrase that here. So here is the test condition. A is greater than 0. We'll rephrase this way. So if that is true, we want to return this value. Otherwise, we want to return 0. Cool, completed without error. I wonder why the ordinary ternary doesn't work there. So yeah, in our WNOs, we should have no negative numbers. There should never be a negative. And I'm not seeing any negatives. See a bunch of zeros. No negatives. Here's WNO. Looks like it's working flawlessly. So these skill gaps obviously have a huge amount of factors. So we might want to do like an MCA or a principal component analysis. Let's see. Okay, so these are for the alternatively educated individuals. Now we want to do that for recent college grads. The syntax for that is like so. College grad levels. And instead of this, ideal skill name, alt ed individual substring, it will be recent college grad substring. Recent college grad substring. Cool, and I think I need the underscore prefix there. Okay. Cool, and now we can see that we are, we start by looking at the ideal value. And then we compute the column name, which is the skill name plus the recent college grad substring. So that's like, you know, for example, skill commute ideal job applicant to skill commute. Would be the skill name, and then we add the substring. So it'd be like skill commute underscore recent college graduate. You see how it's labeled? Okay. Now, that should be it. That should be it. Let's see. Bam! Why would I take an L when I could take a dub? You know what I'm saying? Why would I take an L when I could take a dub? So, test is that WNO has no negative numbers, and I think we're passing that. Just manual sanity checking here. Another test, it's a little harder to do manually. I would usually just do a difference in means test or something like that, but we can try and eyeball it. And that is just make sure that my RCT values are not the same as my AET values. Now they can be the same sometimes. They just shouldn't always be the same. Does that make sense? Also, why is this first column toggling between empty and 0? That's no good. If it is empty, then the skill value should also be empty. So WNO, these are being computed, WNO. Yeah, so these are failing this truthy check, and they're getting a 0. So let's do an additional line here. So the additional line will be whatever value we just wrote. How should I do this? I can do this in 1 or 2 lines. So if I do it in 1 line, it's going to get a little bit ugly. Hey, so cheapskate AD. What's up? What's up? I'm a high school senior. I just started coding. Any tips? Yeah, hello. So, Codecademy is like the cool one. Check out the front end engineer path. It costs money. So I don't like Codecademy's free stuff, but if you pay money, this one's good. It's like 20 bucks a month or something. There's free Code Camp if you want a free one. The curriculum is not quite as good, but it's still pretty good. I mean, the return on investment for it being free is awesome, but the skills are a little bit dated. So you'll be learning stuff that was cutting edge like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago or something. There's also Latterly. This is my thing, latterly.io. It'll forward the domain to Teachable. That's totally fine. That's expected. So this is my Teachable course. You can learn from me. You can follow me on TikTok. You can DM me. You can leave a comment on my videos. So I do one-on-one coaching, basically, if you want. And then the last thing I would mention is if you're going to go to university, like it kind of depends how much money you have. So the return on investment to elite college is like overrated, basically. So people think like Harvard, Stanford, like they're so prestigious, it's going to land you this awesome job. If you look at the return on investment to your additional dollars spent, it's not for programming, it's not a big deal. Like you're not making much more money and you're spending a lot more money. And after 3 years or so in the industry, then your college effects basically vanish. That's according to Google data. So yeah, I mean, if you're rich, awesome, go to Harvard. But if you're not rich, like just go to a state school or even go to a boot camp. And App Academy would be like the cool boot camp. It's still pretty expensive, honestly, but it's better than I think it's better than a state school. And you can learn really fast, so it doesn't take 4, 5, 6 years. It takes like 4, 5, 6 months. But yeah, it's 20 to 30 grand. So still kind of expensive, but it's really good. It's like the best. Here, if you go to Course Report, you can browse schools, and then if you like. Basically, if you look at all the schools, like App Academy is like the best in the US. So let's sort by most reviewed. Lowagon, they're not in the US, they're amazing. New Camp is weird, but they're cool, but they're not amazing. They're not what you want, basically. They're great return on investment, but they're like this cheap program. It's not equivalent. Springboard is okay, and then here's App Academy. So App Academy actually has a slightly higher rating, but slightly fewer reviews. I don't know, I think they're both good, but I like App Academy more personally. So those are your tips. Hope that helped. If it helped, smash the like button. All right, cool. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to try to address the fact that there are zeros when there should be empties. So where is null? Then I want this value to be like empty, right? Or like null. Can I just say null? None. mp.empty. I can do it like this. I can just say use that value then. Whatever Pandas wants to refer to it as, just refer to it as that. Okay. So otherwise, yeah, I need to do this in one line. I'm sorry. I realize it's ugly, y'all. I realize that. But I need to nest them, actually. Okay, so I'll break it on a new line. It's the least I can do. Right, so this is kind of an ugly expression, but what it says is, like if the skill without overqualification is null, I think we need to start even before that. No, this is right. If the skill without overqualification is null, then the skill with overqualification is also null. So this is like a weird way of saying like also null. otherwise do our max operation where you take either the skill gap or 0, whichever is larger. Okay, so let's test this. I'm expecting no error. Permission denied because I have the folder open. Oh, hey, Safari Miner says hello. Sa, thanks for tuning in on Twitch. All right, so let's run that again. Boom, no errors, great. I'm going to see some zeros, but I'm going to see none of them with the A. All right, so I got some zeros, but it's with the RCT. Some zeros is with the RCT. I got none with the A. Does that make sense? None of these zeros are AETs. So that is actually a pass of our test. Now we need to do a similar thing over here. So let me grab this expression, break that to a new line, comment it, paste, bam. And then plug in the RCTs here instead of the AETs. It's the same process, we're just using a different string. In fact, I could turn that into a function, right? That would be the smart thing to do, wouldn't it? Dang, I kind of want to do that. So this will be like compute. Let me make sure this works, and then I'll simplify it. Okay? Make sure it works first. And now I got no zeros up here at the top line where it should be empty. It's all empty. Great. Okay, so that's looking good. So now I'm going to have a subroutine. Let's see if this works. So here is compute with no overqualification. Okay, and then what is the argument here? df, the argument should just be df and string, and df and s. This would be like, oh, by the way, I can just do this. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. So that's simpler. So I just need this prefix. So column prefix. Okay. So let's just do one of these, one at a time. So here is the skill name. Do I need to pass in the skill name? Yeah, I do. Column prefix and skill name. Okay, so we're going to compute with no overqualification. And we'll just return this. Okay, so it looks like it's allowing me to define a private subroutine, which is kind of cool. So here we have df, we have column prefix and skill name. Fighting the urge to make those in alphabetical order, but I think df first makes sense. So the column prefix and the skill name. So skill name is just the variable skill name, and then here is the here's the prefix. And frankly, I don't need this equals. That can be under there too, right? So I don't need to return. I just say df so this will be like prefix from prefix to. So this will be prefix from, and here is, nope, that's prefix to, sorry, that's the output. Here's prefix from. Okay, df from to skill name. Compute with no overqualification from to from with overqualification to with no overqualification. So let's see if this works. So it looks pretty good. So what's a specific test we can do? But at least it didn't break and stuff. So I should have no fake zeros, and I should have no negatives in my AET, WNO columns. AET, WNO. So here's where the fake zero would occur. It doesn't occur, that's a pass. Doesn't occur, that's a pass. And then I'm not seeing any negatives. So those are all passes on my tests. Does that make sense? Manual testing, but it's still looking good. So this part I'm going to check it in, and then I will reuse this, and the test there will be, it should not change the data at all. So the feature here, wow, I guess I didn't need these rows at all. Okay, so the feature here is we built this thing. Push it. And now we are going to, so we built it and we used it once, and now we're going to use it again. And I think it is more readable and intuitive now. So I'm glad I did that. That wasn't a vain. That wasn't over-engineering. That wasn't a vain exercise. It actually makes sense. Okay. Compute with no overqualification. Let's run it. I should see no CSV changes. Little girl's still asleep, huh?
I haven't heard her. I checked it on her like 20 minutes ago and she was still zonked. So.
Wow, okay.
Do you want lunch?
Sure. All right, so we ran it and I see no difference in the CSV. So this, we'll check this in, and this is just like more concise compiles compute skill gaps. Okay. That didn't check in or something. Kind of feel like VS Code's lagging. Close to the right. So the other thing we're going to compute now is the comparative skill gaps. It would be better if these are all prefixed with skill, in my opinion. Yeah, let's do that. Let's prefix everything skill. Skill, 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 skill. So we know they're all skill factors, basically. Cool. Let's run that. I do get a CSV change. And then here's what they look like. Skill. Yep, these are the skills. Okay. Use skill prefix. And now I'm going to have df skill, and this will be comparative. Comparative. And I want to be more specific because it's like which one minus which one. So we'll treat college in general as better. So we'll do college minus alternative. RCG minus AET. I'll just do AE. Recent college grad minus alternatively educated. No, I like calling it comparative. And then it'll be laid out in the code that we're doing the college first. So skill comparative. This is college grad minus all right, and so this is comparative with overqualification, and then we'll do with no overqualification. And it's interesting because you could say that you could calculate this two ways, right? With no overqualification could be the difference between the two with no overqualification. But then the difference could be a negative number, and maybe that's okay. Let's see. Then the alternatively educated individual would be overqualified relative to the college graduate, but they would not be absolutely overqualified. Wow. Should we check both of these? Kind of want to check both of these. All right, let's check both of these. So here is, oh, thank you so much. So with overqualification, with no overqualification, and then we will call this from, and two will be skill comparative no relative overqualification. That's a mind bender. Okay, so these are all of the skill gaps that we wanted to create. It's like way too many. We have way too many, right? But we're going to lasso them and concentrate them down. And we're also going to test for like some different theories. All right, so let's go to the factor groups. Here we are. Skill, physical attractiveness with and without. Okay. So first we just grab all of these. Whoa, it's like way too much, right? Oh, man. So this will be skill questions, page 9, and this is with overqualification. And then we'll do another one with no overqualification. I don't like how this kind of runs together, skill, physical attractiveness. I guess I don't care, but that's kind of annoying. Okay. So we're looking for W and O, and we're getting rid of those. Such a grind, isn't it? Are y'all sure you want to do research? It can be grindy AF. All right, so we got rid of all of the WNOs. All right, so this is with overqualification. And then so let's do with overqualification. We can separate out, let's separate out the comparative skills. Skill questions. So this is non-comparative with overqualification. So we'll go get rid of all the comparative ones now. Oh, there's like 3 L's at the end. How did that happen? Is there actually a typo in the thing? Nope, not there. Okay, so it's not in the actual survey. Where did that? I'm not seeing skill with 3 L's anywhere. It's literally just in this one place. I don't know, maybe I typed L by accident. Oops. Isn't it awful how you can be like a world like leader on some research topic and then you fucking hit the L key and you ruin your analysis? And like world governments are like making policy based on your shit, and then it's like, yeah, bro, that analysis was bad, my bad. I hit the L key, my bad. I took an L, you know what I mean? Okay, so skill, really I don't care about the RCTs, I just care about the AET. So this is like AE, non-comparative skills. Okay, yeah, I really don't care about the RCGs either. So at the end of this, I should have 13 factors, basically. That's a test we can do to make sure there weren't any extraneous deletions or failures to delete. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Good. Okay. So these are the AE non-comparative skills with overqualification. Let's go. I want to run an actual regression instead of like data wrangling all this garbage. All right, and we got a negative adjusted R squared. All that work and the adjusted R squared is negative. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so the R squared is 1, 1. N is 99 lit. AIC of 335. Adjusted R squared is negative 0.3. Excuse me. And if we look inside the skills, what we can see is willingness to commute is a big negative. Amazing, amazing. Odd hour strange schedule is also fairly important. Really weird ones. The pseudo skills are showing up strong. Conscientiousness is a big deal, but we elsewhere have personality. But the difference there is that the other personality are respondent facing as opposed to hiring candidate facing. Okay. And then we got some like moderate / weak ones in the 3s. So communication skill, and rule breakers is in the running. Great, because that was a really interesting one. Salary we know theoretically matters, and we see the expected coefficient. So as salary goes up, excuse me, as salary goes up, then favorability declines. So that's expected, right? Like we don't want to hire expensive people, basically. And then some of these just totally don't matter with the p-values over 5. Like you can't do anything with those. Notably, we replicate technical skills. So let's take some notes. Replicate technical skills don't matter. Soft skills more important. All right. What else do we do? Replicate salary coefficient negative as expected. Low demand for high price labor. Great. I feel like there was a third one that I just checked out. These quasi skills are strong, which is kind of bad. Physical attractiveness. Glad to see that that's not really mattering. Oh yeah, and conscientiousness and rule breakers. Conscientiousness and rule breaker effects are moderate. Interesting. Replicated. Cool. Now, this is the WO, and if I recall correctly, WNO should be stronger. So let's check it out. So M20. So I should have a section in my results, which is like early section, or like, I don't know about early section. Findings, replicated and disputed compared to prior results. And then like novel results. And really that is the whole fucking paper, literally. If I can show replicated, disputed, and novel results, what else do you want from me? It's a meta-analysis. Like, it's a meta-analysis with a unique contribution. Like, publish me, dog. Publish me. I don't know what else you want. M20, great. Here's M20. With M20, we're going to change these WOs to WNOs. Why would I take a dub when I could take an NO? Sorry. Leave me alone. Coffee, where you at? What's up? Oh, I really hate those Nespressos. They're not that good. Whatever. It's still caffeine. Okay. M20. Bus it. Bus it. Bus it. Oh, we got a positive AR2, R squared. So we're going to replicate. So here's AE, non-comparative skills, without overqualification. Here's a whole finding is like overqualification is a fiction. I'm friends with some of the leaders who've created an ed tech platform called Degreed. Really, really smart guys. The Blake family, two brothers. Really, really big fan of those guys. And they have, I think it was the older brother, David, if I'm not mistaken, like wrote a book on the skill gap. Like one of their big targets was skill gaps, like industrial skill gaps, like solving the skill gap problem. And so he proposed a way to measure them, and he was one of the guys that ignored overqualification. And so I tested both, and I was like, let's see, David, you might have screwed up on this one. Like overqualification is a big thing, right? And it turns out that ignoring overqualification is more accurate. We can see in front of us, we have better model explanatory power, and this is a independent replication, different sample pool, different time, cross-validated. And it's like, no, ignoring overqualification is more accurate. So overqualification effects, like they're like not real effects. It's like a fiction. It's like when people tell you that you're overqualified. I'm not saying they're lying with malice, but like they're doing business wrong. They're basically wrong. Overqualification is a fiction. Get degree guys to talk about this too. Cross-validated in a new temporal context. See factor groups. Cool. Yeah. So AE non-comparative skill gap skills without overqualification. Replicate. What are we replicating here? Let's double check everything we said. Technical skills don't matter. P is over .5. Let's just do parens P over .5. So they don't matter. They're actually detracting from parsimony of the model. Body language it's under .5. It's not really great. Salary is even stronger in this case. Rule breakers are much stronger in this case. Look at that. Fun. And they're positively associated. So break rules. What about the last one? Why is it logging? Do I have two print statements? Okay. Yeah, I'm still logging that. Oopsie. So I need to go higher than that. Break rules, positive coefficient. And now break rules even more significant. Not a higher coefficient, but a more significant coefficient. Positive coefficient. And let me try and see. You know what? I'm trying to recall in the prior study. Oh, Logic Bug sent you likes. Logic Bug, I appreciate that. Cool username, by the way. Love Logic. I'm not really a fan of bugs. Hey, I'm sure they help the ecosystem, right? I just don't want them in my code. You feel me? So on the one hand, I kind of want to remember in the prior study, what was the direction of the coefficient of the rule breaker effect? On the other hand, I don't even want to know, right? Because I don't want it to bias my analysis. Whether it ends up in the disputed or whether it ends up in the replicated, the fact is that we found a significant coefficient here, and the prior study did too. Replicate technical skills don't matter. Soft skills more important. Yeah, we're replicating this. Teamwork and customer service skills kind of borderline, but communication, right? Okay, verbal doesn't really matter, but the body language thing. Salary coefficient negative as expected. Yup. And here, attractiveness is much stronger. So this gives some theoretical reason to prefer here. Okay, in WNO model, attractiveness is P.5, which gives some theoretical reason to prefer. And we're going to replicate. And what's the AIC here? 3. Yeah. AIC and AR2 and R2. Cool. Man, when people don't want to consider AR2, it really bugs me. I was having this. Whoa, I'm getting a call from my mom. All right, y'all friends. I love you. I gotta go because my mom is calling me. Bye. Hey, mama.
It's not mama. What's good?
Ew, bye. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, what's good?
No.